welcome back to my channel. Today we're playing some more One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. Gonna be doing just some Yamato gameplay today. Kinda was in the mood to play her since that is our current cover story that we're getting now, is about Yamato. Haven't seen too much about it yet, just like the underwater section with Onigashima like underwater now, and then Yamato and Momo setting out on their journey or whatever their plan to do is. Which I am excited for, and I hope we actually get some pretty good Yamato and Momo stuff, and just like some cool information about Wano that we maybe missed or anything like that, or maybe certain characters interacting or whatnot. It'd just be really cool to see. And we're also just going to be slightly talking about the newest One Piece episode, 1098, or 1097 I mean, and then the newest One Piece chapter, 1111, which it's weird, we're at 1111 now, which is pretty insane for a chapter length. I know there are a couple manga that are actually longer than One Piece and whatnot. I think, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure like the Detective Conan has more episodes than One Piece, and I think there's a couple other ones. But we are also sadly going on a 3-week break for the manga after today's chapter, which is pretty disappointing, but I'm always willing to give Oda time off, considering he's spent, what, like 27 years or something like that, going pretty much weekly. He does take some breaks here and now, and I know he took some for like the live action, and he had to get eye surgery and whatnot. But we've gotten enough like really good chapters lately that we have a lot to like speculate on. We've seen like new forms for the Gorosei, and just like so much crazy shit happening. I also just want to quickly mention, I really love the cover for, I think it's Shonen Jump's cover, but it's One Piece, and it does the classic Luffy with two hats on, which is one of my favorite like small gags that happens, because of course Luffy's not going to take off his straw hat. I think it happened in Whole Cake Island, and I think it's happened in some movies and whatnot, but there's like a couple things where he wears two hats, and it always gives me a bit of a giggle. But we'll start off going over the newest episode, 1097, which I've really been enjoying, Egghead. Like, our opening's amazing, the ending's really good. They've kind of fixed up the pacing a little bit with having an ending again, and also having like the characters talk at the end. Which I also noticed that the like announcement for like the Egghead music was playing during that. I think a VTuber made that. But I was weird because I thought that was gonna like show up in an episode at one point, but it showed up in like an ending, which is pretty cool, and it was cool to see it. But we were getting a bunch of Dr. Vegapunk stuff and the Giants, and we got in the anime the reveal that Saul is still alive, which I know some people were pissed off and like saw this as like a retcon. I have always thought that he was going to be alive since the Aokiji stuff, because his move was called Ice Time Capsule, only time that ever has been called that, and we already knew people could survive being totally iced with like Robin and the Straw Hats and whatnot, so it wasn't out of the possibility. Plus, it just like seemed like basically all the Giants so far are our leading link into Elbaf, and I feel like it would be weird to kill off like Robin's link. Plus, I think it would be really out of character for Aokiji to kill his friend. Although, Aokiji / Kuzan is on a bit of a strange path right now, where, I mean, most people assume he's working with Blackbeard to do a greater good. And, because I think he says something to Smoker during Punk Hazard about changing your perspective or something like that. Something along those lines. But I'm really excited to see what more we get with them, because when they adapted the cover story with them, it was really badass a couple episodes ago. And the stuff that's upcoming in the anime but is happening in the manga has been really good too. Also in this episode, I think we got more Dragon total runtime than the entire series so far, so that's also cool. I don't know if his voice actor is different because he's young, or if he had a change in voice actor, but it did sound slightly different than the old one. But I really liked the voice actor that was doing it. And then we found out about the punk records being essentially Vegapunk's brain, and how he wants to connect it to like everyone in the universe or in the world, which is actually interesting because it sounds like they also Bonnie brings up that it's kind of fucked up, and like Jinbei says that what about other ideologies get put in it, which is an interesting concept. But I honestly seems more like something like the internet, but for One Piece is how it would work essentially, because you could upload stuff to it and take stuff downloaded from it. So it kind of works like a giant internet, which is just a really cool concept. And then we got Bonnie attacking Vegapunk with the beam saber, getting attacked by the bugs. It was really well done. And I think we saw a little bit more about the giant, but not much. Which cut back into our manga chapter, 1111, and it also ended on the robot, and he's finally moving and doing something, which is really cool. And the panel looked really awesome with it. And then we also got a bit more of like the Toon Force Gear 5 effect, where Luffy pulled out a bat and a hat, like a baseball helmet, and painted it black, which is also really fucking funny, because was so many memes about like Mihawk and characters painting their weapons black instead of like having a black blade or using hockey or something. So that was just really fucking funny, and I thought I don't know if Oda did that referencing that of some sort from the community, because I imagine that's probably passed on somewhere in the Japanese One Piece community too, with those memes. But, so it's just really funny that he painted his stuff black. And then, although I guess it could be another color, I don't really know how coloring in mangas work. We generally watch more anime than manga, so it could be a different color, but it was just a really funny bit, and also gave more into the effect that Luffy has some sort of Toon Force power. I'm still on the idea that it's mostly just rubber manipulation to like a ridiculous level. Like when he pulled out the goggles and he turned like his rubber hair into goggles. And like we've seen people like Doflamingo could make clones of himself, and like they had color and whatnot. So there is like some case for that type of thing. But overall, it was just a really good chapter, and Gear 5 Luffy's just been popping off the last couple chapters. And we also got like full confirmation that Luffy has been trying to kill the Gorosei, so they are essentially immortal to whatever degree, if it's through Law's devil fruit or some other means, or they're like special devil fruits or abilities they have. But seeing everyone go around and the end of Zoro versus Lucci, where Lucci was actually still standing, surprisingly, and then Jinbei essentially grabs Zoro like a child, and then knocked Lucci the fuck away. I am kind of sad that Jinbei usually gets the exact same attack for every attack he does, pretty much. Although his fight with Who's Who was pretty good, and I loved his like full body and armament hockey moment, and that was really great. But it is just sad to see him essentially use the same attack all of the time. But we're also seeing some of the giants in combat, and they seem really goddamn strong actually, because during this chapter we also find out that at least the boar Gorosei, also don't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but he does have Conqueror's Hockey, and he does like our giant roar with it. And the panel of Luffy getting like his eyes and stuff flown backwards, and like his sandals and whatnot, and even his scar comes off, and then in the next panel you can see him putting his scar back on. Just really cool, and I love what Oda is doing with Gear 5. And it's just really cool to see Dory and Broggy back in action, because they did actually seem pretty strong during Little Garden when they did their attack through the giant monster and let them get away. And they were like basically fighting with broken weapons during that arc. So just really cool, and kind of seeing how it connects the Sun God Nika with Elbaf, which is kind of where everyone was expecting. And then what else did we get this chapter? There was actually quite a lot. We ended off with the crew, Jewelry Bonnie and Sanji, facing off the vice admirals, and then the bird Gorosei landing at York and essentially coming to get her. And that was actually a pretty funny panel too. And then we get Kizaru still on his back with his arm over his head, and he says, "My wounds run deep," which it is playing out to be more of an emotional thing that he's dealing with rather than actually getting like finished by Luffy, which is how most people were thinking. At least from what I've saw. And then we end on the Iron Giant saying, "Forgive me, Joy Boy," which is something along the lines of Zunisha said, so I imagine it'll probably tie into that. I did see an interesting theory that both of them are giants, and Zunisha is like stuck in his Zoan form, and then this one, like the Iron Giant, turned himself into an Iron Giant to like stay alive or something along those lines. That was something I saw in a comment somewhere, and that was actually a pretty interesting theory. But we're getting so far into the final saga, and so much craziness happening, like every chapter. It is just so amazing, and I know there's just a 3-week break, but I am so excited for when we actually get back, and there's just so much going on. But there is a lot of anime upcoming and stuff I gotta watch, so having a break isn't the worst thing ever, because there's a lot of stuff going on. Like Freerun also just ended. That show was absolutely amazing, and I want to read the manga for that pretty badly, actually, because it's something I really loved and made into like my top 10 anime. And also a show that ended today that I don't see a lot of people talking about is the Unwanted Undead Adventure. Really good fantasy series, actually. Definitely lower quality than like Freerun and Dungeon Meshi, but it's really good, and I definitely recommend people checking out. It like similar to a lot of isekai tropes, but a lot of the side characters actually seem like they use logic, and it's based off a light novel, and it actually gives a 12-episode series time to breathe, which is insane. Usually light novels are rushed to crazy, and like you lose so much context. So I've really been enjoying that too. And the next season is going to be crazy with the amount of anime coming up. But other than that, that'll be pretty much it for this video. I'll probably have another one up tomorrow or something like that, but just wanted to hop on, talk about One Piece, because as always, super hyped up about it. But that'll be all. Catch you guys later. Peace!